your interest. But before we do that, I'd just like to welcome our new councillor, Mr. Mac MacDonald, who was successful in the recent town council by-election. Welcome, and hopefully you'll enjoy the next few months until you have to stand again, which is the way of the world. So on to 23222, declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest. And showing, obviously, if there are any, they can be notified at the agenda item in particular. So 23322, apologies for absence.
Councillor Redfern, Councillor Downing, Councillor Wallace, Councillor James.
Okay. So moving on to the 23422 minutes of the last full council meeting held on the 28th of June. Circulated. Are you happy for those to be signed as true record of the meeting? Agreed. Moving minutes. Thank you. Then on to the committee meeting, 23522, the committee meeting of the 6th of July. Councillor Jeremy, I think you're in for that one.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Mayor. These are the minutes from the meeting on Wednesday, 6th of July. There are no recommendations. It's all resolved business. So we'll move the minutes.
Agreed. Moving on then to the personnel committee. Councillor Cannon, I believe, the chairman.
I'm pleased to present the minutes of the 12th of July and the personnel meetings, and now I know recommendations. Thank you.
All agreed? Agreed. Good. Thank you. Moving on to the planning committee on the 12th of July. Myself was in the chair for that one. And there was no recommendations. Page 1, 2 and 3. Happy with our true record, please. And then on to the Venues and Communications Committee of the 13th of July. Again, I was in the chair for that one. I think they're all resolved matters. Pages 1, 2 and 3. Are you happy with the content of those? Is that there? Agreed. Thank you. And then on to the Finance Committee of the 19th of July. Councillor Tyler, the Vice Chair, presenting.
I present the minutes of the Finance Committee held on the 19th of July. There were 6 resolved items and no recommendations. I'd like to move the minutes.
In favour? Yes. Thank you. Then on to the Cemetery Committee of the 21st of July. Who do we have for chair that?
It is Councillor Jeremy.
Yes,
It is
the
the new chair.
New face on the block.
I was dying on that committee. No, can I just say thank you to Karen, actually, as the committee clerk. We only met last week, and Karen's already got these out in speedy time, so thank you to Karen for that. These are the minutes from the 21st of July, and again, there are no recommendations. It's all resolved.
Agreed. Right, move on then to 23622, Mayor's remarks and reports.
Yeah.
The
Mayor did apologise as she is attending her daughter's graduation. So we thought we'd better give her a bye for that one. She had put forward a list of her engagements this month and also that Councillor Ryan also did an event on her behalf this month.
Yep, so obviously I can't comment on the wonderful things that did happen, but I know the Festival in East Anglia Punjab event, again, it's something that, you know, I went to the launch, I know Councillor Jeremy was there, and it's something that we need to embrace as a council more. I think it's really something that puts the area on the map, a bit of coverage from across East Anglia. It's really good. I will take Councillor Crawford and Councillor Taylor.
Mine is on the senior packet. It says new Mary's barbecue at RAF. Is that?
I will comment on that in a minute. So if we park that one, I'll tell you what that's about.
I can't go to that.
No, Councillor Taylor.
I just feel as taking part in the Sheik Festival that we're missing a massive disconnect here as the town council. I don't just mean the town council, I mean Brecland as well, because Brecland organise it on the green, but they own some of the areas across the way. But I think that we as a town should be lobbying a lot better to make use of that on the day. Because, for example, if I wanted to get a drink of beer, I had to walk all the way to Cheers Restaurant. In the light of the money that was spent by Brecland last year was get me years mixed up on advising what to do with the river. And one of the things they came up with when they told us to stop out was pop-up businesses. And I think we had a fantastic opportunity there throughout the year to get people ready and organised to get stores, tents, whatever they did to support that festival. And on the day there was nothing. And I think we've got to look at ourselves here. And I just think we could have done a lot more on the day. And I hope that next year the town council will look at this and get a lot more people involved from a business point of view, from a pop-up aspect.
And we weren't actually invited to be part of the event. And we also had other events on that our staff were engaged in for the weekend.
One of the reasons, I didn't want to say this, one of the reasons why we don't get invited, because I'm speaking to all the people on the inside, there's a lot of bad feeling between some of the organisers on their side and the town council because of what's happened in the past. I think we need to have maybe a little meeting about it, break some bread, pass some olive branches on and get involved, because there is a lot of bad feeling I pick up between the town council and some of the organisers there. I don't say too much about it in this
We do actually have a Punjab steering group with those members on it, and we did have a lovely big event with them last year. So I think a lot of it this year was that our resources weren't available to be part of it.
And I do think they tend to come to the party and ROs requested to get Dad's Army involved at a later stage, and it just wasn't feasible. But there is, on through venues, events and marketing, I think it's something we can just look to encourage a bit of partnership working with those things, even though it's not ours.
Just indulging for that, because I spend a lot of time at the other end of town, and I do know what I find with them, and I think the old mayor mentioned about it, is you've got to be preemptive with them and give ideas to them. Once they see the idea, which should be a good idea for us, once they see that, they'll then come on board. So if we do a preemptive strike early, face it complete, I think they'll pick things up.
I think for those that were at the venues, there was something in terms of volunteers, but also developing ideas for the public, and I think that can be put into the mix to put out those feelers and see how we can work together. So I think there is some work happening in that regard. So back on to the New Mayor's Barbecue. This is for Milton Hall. I host an event for New Mayors, not just in Norfolk, Suffolk, but Cambridgeshire. Councillor Jones is unable to go, so I was asked to stand in it. It was a lovely event on the afternoon at Milton, and we were well represented that as a East Anglian community with the United States Air Force there. And one of the messages they did say to us to impart was, a few years back, Milton Hall was scheduled to be closed. And they're now saying, it's going to be there for the foreseeable future, and get that message out to your community that it is going to be, a rock in the area, or, however funding commits, but at the moment they are going to be there forever and a day going forward. So that's nice to hear. The other event I did attend, which I'll just drop in now, because it could be on other bodies, was the business breakfast. Again, I stood in with Town Council has two representatives there, and I went along. And one of the things that was quite exciting was the principal at Drake School looking at to do some arts funding. She's very go ahead in terms of the Arts Council identified Brecland as an area that should be getting more funding and can apply for this funding, and she's looked to develop a partnership with local people to take that forward and deliver events. And the mayor and myself spoke to her and suggested that the Town Council ought to be involved with this, if only to say that we have venues that would be available to do some of the events that they're looking to put on. Hopefully we can support that. I haven't had any further contact, but obviously I know we've got a governor here on Drake, and hopefully we can be a liaison there. Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I've been to the business practice a couple of times over the last few years. I find, me personally, I find it's a bit of a damage whip. not very dynamic, not much going on. Especially in some as the deputy mayor, there's any chance you're trying to make some inroads with the Thetford Business Awards, which is a lot more dynamic, doing a lot more for the town. I think if there was another branch again from the town council into that, that would be good for the council and good for the businesses who get involved with it rather than that business breakfast.
Well, that's something that I'm, as a personal thing can take forward, but I attended the business breakfast as stand-in for the town council, and I'm just reporting what happened there, but we'll take that on board. Okay, we'll move then on to 23722, town council representatives on other bodies. Going up around the table. Jeremy, table. Callum, thank you.
Yeah, just to say that the Steam Rally Museum in Wheaton went very well, and the Child Bowl done excellent event there, so they're quite happy with that. Just two other things that's not, it is related to the town council, but it's not related to the town council. And you'll see by the time I'm leaving. Andrew and Kate asked us to go along to the Riley Academy. The children about 5 years old, and they was learning democracy, so had to work as a team, but they understood the word democracy, which was quite fascinating. And we was asked to run a town council meeting with them. So I sat in the chair, and the children sat around the tables as councillors. So we brought up the event. We brought up the subject of as town councillors, we're thinking that we might have to close all the play areas, because obviously we're talking to children here, so we're trying to get their opinions, and we have to keep stressing this is not true, we're pretending, and the teacher kept stressing it. It was amazing the answers that they come up with on how they could keep their play areas open. The next subject was an ice cream ban. Well, that was quite shocking, but they actually came up with the answers. Can we ask the ice cream men to park in the car park so that we can just walk down and they're not blocking the road so that the fire engine can't get? Absolutely fantastic. But that's for the heritage events that are run from the Guildhall, and then and Kate go out to the schools, but we was asked to attend. I'm sorry, Barbara, you missed that. You would loved it. The other one is that we are quite happy under the Sandford Trust Terry Crane Land with the angling balloon people, that was it, angling balloon. And we actually, on the day, got a certificate as recognised. So we was quite happy with. So as friends of, we've recognised. So thank you.
Mr. Harvey? Moving down the table. Dave,
just want to tell you that there was a PPP meeting, but it was cancelled. And first started the same. And so there will be news for the meeting, which we do in September.
Yeah.
We don't do anything.
I attended two meetings on behalf of the council. There was an open meeting and a closed meeting. There's problems raised in drinking in the Castle Street, and the stag group recommended reporting every incident and giving the police guidance of when and how incidents happened. There was off-road initiatives for quad bikes. The police have had big campaigns on that. There's been an ongoing issue with speeding in Castle Lane, and we're looking at getting a sound camera installed. That's still ongoing, and there's still antisocial behaviour in Springwalk, and there's certain aspects being looked at that to try and not resolve the issue, but trying to minimise it. The priorities looked at for next year, and they're going to remain as they are. Priority one is the antisocial behaviour in the PSPO area at the town centre. Priority 2 is drug misuse, and priority 3 is illegal off-road vehicles and car meets at the retail park. There's an issue with an encampment behind Sainsbury's. The police have got a warrant to get the occupants there evicted, although one night they'll move on somewhere else. There's no meetings in August, and the next closed meeting is on the 14th of September, and the next open meeting is on the 6th of October.
That's a bit early for you, isn't it?
Me, Chair. I'll just mention one of the things that Samsung camera that they're talking about is actually one in town owned.
Yep.
And that's in conjunction with highways. So highways are anticipating putting poles in so we can use our Samsung camera. I don't know whether any approach has been made.
I know that's an ongoing issue with the Cloverfield residents, so thank you for that update. Okay, then moving on then to 238-22, report to Canton District Councillors. Go around again.
Circulate my update by email, so hopefully some of you at least have a chance to see that. A couple of things just to particularly highlight. One, as Brenda has mentioned, we did have the Anglia in Bloom judges in Thetford 2 weeks ago, 12th of July, I think. It says on there, 12th of July. We've entered 3 specific categories for Anglia in Bloom this year. Partly because, and this was news to me, that you have to pay £300 for every category you enter. And I think some towns probably enter as many categories as they possibly can. But I think nearly £1,000 for this town council is quite enough, frankly. That said, the Anglia Bloom judges were, without giving too much away, because obviously they need to go away and do their assessment, they were very complimentary of Thetford, actually. It was a really lovely day walking them round. They got to see the market square in roundabout opposite Green Dragon, which is looking brilliant, and I've already passed on thanks to Nick and the team for how great that looks. Plus the various planters and hanging baskets around the town centre, which on this particular day, despite all of the heat we've been having, actually look pretty good at the moment. It's much better than my hanging baskets at home. And as Brenda was saying, they were very complimentary and passionate about the sheer number of volunteers that we have in Thetford. Whether that's the volunteers that did the crocheting flowers on the Carnegie and Guildhall, the volunteers in King's House Gardens, but also when we got up to the cemetery, the volunteers that were involved in the Forgotten Soldiers project and the memorial that's there, and the number of businesses, every planter up there pretty much is sponsored by a different business, and they were really noted buy-in to floral displays and trying to improve the town. And I've already told him personally, I wanted to mention it tonight. A particular thanks to Nick and the works team, town team, because I know Nick goes out and gets most of the sponsors, and the guys are there doing the actual physical planting. But, I don't know what the outcome will be of the competition, but actually I was very pleased with the tour round that we had, and they were very complimentary of that. We could all name 101 things that we'd like to see, but it was nice to take part and hear their experiences of visiting other places, and they were genuinely complimentary of that. So I wanted to share that. A couple of things just to mention. On Friday this week, I've got a meeting with the Norfolk County Council highways officer that covers Thetford. I meet him fairly regularly as a county councillor. I normally have a huge list for him, but at the top of my list on Friday will be the repair work that took place on St Martin's Way and St John's Way. If I had £1 for every person that's contacted me about that, I could resurface it myself. The contractor did an appalling job, and they have been made to come back and fix it at their own cost, which I think is important. It's not the taxpayers paying for them to come back and do the repeat work. It'd be nice if they did it right the first time. They wouldn't have to come back, but they are being made to come back. And I've literally got the highways guy, and we're going to walk the route on Friday, because I still don't think it's complete. So we'll see if we can make any further improvements there. The photo I shared on the front of the report is of Spring Walk and Nuns Bridges, because as Barbara mentioned, there's been long-standing issues on Spring Walk with antisocial behaviour, and Chris Harvey and I were very pleased to get somebody out from Brecon from the assets department, and we took him for a walk around our ward and made sure we took him down to Spring Walk, because Brecon do need to act on what the issues are, and we've had some really encouraging news the last few weeks. So I won't say too much at this point, but there has been some progress made, which it's been a long time coming, frankly, but fingers crossed that we may actually be getting somewhere. On the back, you'll see I've put a couple of links there to some speeches I made at Norfolk County Council last week. There's a latest round of cuts to services being proposed by Norfolk County Council. The ones I think are a particular note for us here in Thetford is reducing weed spraying from 2 a year to 1 a year. When you get them, I don't know what the new one is, maybe at the end, and then there'll be 6 foot tall. Significant cuts to the mobile library service, and also the closure of every household waste recycling centre on a Wednesday. So including our recycling centre here in Thetford will be shut on Wednesday, and they will also be shut at 4 o'clock every day. It's called harmonising the summer opening times to the winter, i.e. shorter opening times in the winter, but now summer will be 4 o'clock as well. That is subject to a public consultation by law. Some decisions they can just make straight away. For example, the weed spraying, so that decision has been made. But closures to recycling centres are governed by special legislation and have to be part of the public consultation. So I would urge people to take part in that consultation. It might be something that we as a town council wish to comment on. Fully appreciate that money's tight. But, we see if there's less access to the tip, more people will be prone to blight it. But also the publicity around it is always really very poor. So there's some, and that's just the first of probably about 4 phases of cuts. They need to find £60 million, and those ones that I've just mentioned come to about 13 million quid. So this is the first of quite a difficult 6 months for Norfolk County Council on services that will be cut. Lastly, and perhaps a little bit more positively, there's something taking place. Well, there's quite a lot of activities over the summer for children, actually, but one in particular is called Read and Feed. That's some specific activities for 8 to 11-year-olds. I've got the poster on there, but it is circulated on social media, and Town Council have shared it, which is good. There's quite a lot of interest in that. I would encourage people to share what the library and the Transmoral Centre and others are up to, because there are quite a lot of activities over the summer, so we want to make sure that people know about them. And I think that's it. Thank you.
There's the Harvey and Castone.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, when you're about the Norfolk Championship Friday,
Yeah.
you take your own price either way.
It's on my list.
Town Clerk and then
Can I request you ask that as well, please? I did email him recently about getting updated costs with parish partnerships.
Yeah.
Just because obviously for this year and for next year we're going to need it for budget round. Thank you.
It's on my list.
Thank you. I knew it would be.
Mr. Taylor, do you see your hand up?
I just want to agree with Councillor Jamie. So closing that area is madness. I've just seen something here where they said we're not going to be able to do DIY fly tippings. You're going to pick up these public servants with the word be gripped by the throat, I think. But we've got to realise the money's run out. There is no money. It'll be the Weimar Republic's doing some research. I think the policies are committed to customer.
We'll continue on around the table then. Any further reports from district?
I'm being very slow. Pardon me. I really wanted to make a comment about the last comment that was made, which I entirely agree with. But I spent some time this evening helping with clearing the woodland behind, what you call it, Klein estate. And a bunch of wonderful volunteers, not me, my first trip, has taken 120 bags of rubbish so far. And it's been trying to motivate them, burnt out. It's just amazing. And the idea, if you want to use more like it, just appalls me.
So moving on around the table, any further reports from district councillors? Councillor Harvey? Then you're there.
Just a couple. I've finished the Serco task and finished with today. There'll be a report. I can assure you it's not whitewash. There's some really strong recommendations into Serco failings, which we're hoping to isolate. They will come out in the public domain after the ONS scrutiny. If you've had a look at it, it should be September time. On a separate note, regarding communication, yet again, I'm a tad disappointed that this meeting's not advertised on Thetford Facebook site, council Facebook site. I have an issue with people saying to me, when's the town council meeting? Why is it on Facebook? Which is what most people use. And I've been told it's not on the Facebook site.
I shall take that back.
Okay, thank you so much.
Send a note to Hazel.
Just going around the Breckland councillors. Councillor Land, did you have anything to report for Breckland? Okay, thank you. Let's continue around the table then. Nobody further? District. Okay, for that then. So on to 23922, committee membership petitions for the mayoral year 2022-23. We've got Councillor Brainbeard proposed finance, Hodgkinson for cemetery, and Councillor Donald for finance, heritage and events, venues and communications. Suggest that we're probably all happy for volunteers to committees. So I'll say that we're all agreed to those positions. So proposer and a second to make it. Proposed. There's a Harvey to second. All in favour? Carried. So moving on then to 24022, community engagement. Is there anything that we wish to impart? Obviously, was mentioned about town council meetings. Councillor Harvey. Councillor Jeremy.
Just completely agree with Chris's point there about publicising the actual meetings. Sorry to be like a broken record. I did notice on the website there's no papers again for this meeting. So I raised it last month because I, like many of you, I can't always get into the email, so I go onto the website to get the agenda and papers up. And unless they're hidden in a way that I really can't find them, I couldn't find them. So hence why I've printed some bits. Can we check? I couldn't find them.
I don't know because I haven't looked, so I can't comment on it.
Can we check post this meeting, please,
Yeah.
to see that?
Ensure that. And if you can get back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great,
No
thank you.
problems.
That's on.
What we're talking about the minutes on the website, is there any news? I mean, I think we were going to have an update on the website, just to look at. Because they may be there, but it's not easy to find particular documents. So
I can't.
that is like a bit of positive news.
I think there's some up.
I'm excited because I can work the system. So I think the website is still in development at the moment. But one of the things that we put forward was definitely that we need to make it easier to do. So I believe you'll probably understand this more because I'm just repeating words, but I don't actually know what they mean. Okay. So what they're going to do is they're going to have an external SharePoint for the documents, so that when people go on a link, it goes to this external SharePoint. So literally, we will load it as we load our normal SharePoint, and they're going to put headings for, like, oh, you're going to meetings, let's have all the committees, and then you click on the committees, and it'll have the, but then also there'll be a natural archiving after a certain amount of time into an archive system, because obviously we've got meetings on our website since 2012. That's a lot of meetings because we do about 80 a year. So so therefore it's also making it more relevant that perhaps it's this year's and last year's, and then the rest would be in an archive. So most people are going to look at this year's and last year's. But it's using a system of an external SharePoint. So literally, they click on it and they get taken into that SharePoint. I mean, I'm assuming that's a good thing.
Yeah, can I come back on that? But yeah, that sounds good. If you've got a live system where the documents are saved and then the website picks it up, correct. But the current system is more of a search system, but the problem is you don't know what to search for because the names of the files are not consistent. And what I would like to see, I'm not sure this is what planned, is that you actually have a list of the meetings by date, and then you can click on the meeting by date and then get all the documents that concern the meeting. So that would be really great, I think. I mean, you may want to search as well, but there are also other things like policies and other documents. Yeah. Really hard to find.
And again, we would have current policies. So, you know, there would be a folder for that, so you click it and take it to the policy. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
Good news.
because also that was brought up for the audit, and the auditors came back to us about it, so we're going to speak to the auditors as well when we do that, so they can come and have a look at it and they can give us their input.
Okay, 24122, committee officers update, please.
I don't have anything extra at the moment.
Okay, well, nothing else on the agenda. I call the meeting closed. Thank you very much for your attendance. And trying to brief this one's ever been to.
We start